Hello and welcome to Portia, Raw and Real, the podcast you can listen to get a little bit more from those guests whose stories on the Portia show really made you just stop and pause and listen a little more carefully. And that was certainly the case with our guest, Young Joe, the rapper, the man behind Shoulder Lean. There's so much more, though.
Yes.
So much more beyond Shoulder Lean and before Shoulder Lean. So we thank you for agreeing to just stay and talk a little longer. Because your story of addiction and recovery, it's a powerful story.
Yes, it is.
It starts with childhood trauma, right?
Right.
Which is almost always the case, no matter rich, poor, black, white, no matter what community. Addiction often starts with trauma.
Yes.
Your childhood trauma.
Yeah. It was a host of things. My mom is a great woman,
Yeah.
but she was alone raising us due to my dad's addiction. So she was heavy with the hand. You know what I'm saying? And rightfully so. You know, 5 boys. You know, it's tough to raise young men as it is. You know, without that dad there,
Yeah.
we're missing what we actually need to be men.
Yeah.
You know, so with that being said, we got some terrible whippings. You know what I mean?
Understood.
And within those whippings, I don't think she intentionally meant for it to be later traumatizing, but through those whippings and, you know, her trying to get us to understand, having to be the mom and the dad,
Yeah.
she had a powerful hand. And that, as I learned in rehab, was traumatizing for me.
Because so many times the mothers are just, are beating their own feurs
It's just
out of it.
beating.
And it doesn't make it right, but it is what ends up happening.
Yeah. So I would want to rebel from that point, from just that. I would want to go against that. I would want to meet a girl that I can control after that. If you understand what
I
I'm
do.
saying. So I would be controlling. It would make me sort of a narcissist. Like, you know, I would want to control situations, and I wouldn't want.
How young of an age were you when you found yourself in relationships where you were trying to be controlling?
well,
Was this in high school?
I would say in high school, you know, because it was just that, and I wanted to be able to be on my own, and once I seen people that I was like, oh, I want to be like that drug dealer, or I want to be, you know, like this hustler, or that guy who be standing on the block, and I see him doing stuff like smoking weed, and, you know, he's having his ways drinking, and when I get the chance to rebel against my mom from that trauma, I would partake in the things that I see modeled.
Absolutely. And that happened earlier,
Early,
right?
very
Because
early.
the first time you smoked weed, you were 12.
12 years old.
And there are going to be some people who go, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And then there are going to be other folks who are like, no, that's normal.
Yeah, it's normal.
And that was normalized in your
Yes.
in the neighborhood where you were.
Yes.
And it's not, I want to make sure we're clear, we're not indicting the community. It's the circumstances, right? It's the poverty, it's the access to drugs, and it's the desire to alleviate pain emotionally,
Yes.
self-medicate.
Yes, self-medicate. And once you venture off into that, it becomes, so you repeat. Then it becomes an addiction. And the same thing that you're running from is still there. So.
And again, I have to be careful because I don't want to put your family business out there, but it's safe to say that this is something you saw in your family, right?
Generational curse.
So there was nobody who was like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, Dewan, don't do that. It was, there's no one going to stop you because this is how a lot of folks are self-medicating in our communities.
Well, no one is going to stop you because their life looked the same way from their generational. So it gets passed down generation after generation. My uncles used, their father used, we used, our cousins used. We're going to have children if we don't break it. And that's one thing that just did, broke the curse.
Yeah. How does that feel?
It's a lot of people, a lot of my family members don't believe it. You feel what I'm saying? And they give me a lot of flack. You know what I mean? But I've been through I done overcame too many storms to let raindrops bother me. You know.
I hear you.
So
May I ask what kind of flack? Like, who's going to push back on the? If we can just be candid, the black father who's trying to make sure his black children don't end up in the same cycle of addiction that he is. Like, what does a pushback against that look like?
Oh, this is interesting. I'm glad you asked. High, I'm giving. If I'm high and I'm drunk and I'm intoxicated, I'm always, I'm pretty nice. Oh, come and get this, or I can call him and he's gonna give me that, or I'm talkative and I'm trying to figure out, hey, what you need and you could just come and I'm doing things without
good discernment.
Right? I'm not worrying about how hard I worked for this money and what it took to get it and who I should be giving it to, because I believe that some people I gave money to, it's almost like you handing a person some money and they're throwing it in the trash with the things that they do with it.
Because they know they can come back and get some more.
Come back and get some more. And actually, I'm funding your drug habit, you know what I mean, so to speak.
So have you had to learn how to say no without explanation? Like, I'm not doing that anymore, and I'm not going to do the things that I used to do.
That's where I get the flack from now. Now they think, oh, he done got off drugs and, we can't, he's not that much giving, or he don't come around that much, or, I just had an awakening, you know what I mean? Like, I do still love them individually, and I'll do whatever for them. It's structured now to where I have discernment on what I need to be doing, where I need to be placing this at, where I'm gonna let my presence be felt at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Am I gonna be standing over here? Can you call anybody when I'm around and I can just give everybody? Because at first I was buying all the alcohol, I was buying all the drugs.
Right.
I was taking you to the club. You feel me? Everybody's there.
Everybody's coming.
You know what I mean?
We all win. I'm winning, we all winning, so to speak.
So now I get flack because I'm no longer that person, and it's hard for some of my family members to see that.
But your children are seeing a totally different lifestyle, and that's the lifestyle that you wanted to model for them, right? You've got 2 older daughters, a younger son.
Yes.
And this is exactly when, we need our fathers, right?
Yes.
The other, going back to the childhood traumas, you were shot when you were 15 years old.
Yes.
That left you, just the emotional trauma of that, but in the physical pain, you became addicted to Demerol?
Demerol.
Tell me more about what that experience was like.
First of all, when I got shot, it was the Tupac era. I really thought that I was gonna get up. Well, Tupac had this line, they shot me 5 times, but I survived, and I got up and walked out the hospital. Man, I tried to get up, and the nurses rushed in the room. They was like, you have 56 staples. The last person got out of this bed, fell on the floor because he couldn't walk, and his guts was everywhere. And I'm like, what happened to me? And they was like, oh, you have a colostomy bag. I'm like, what is that? And it was a big deal, and my mind was blowed, and like they had to they lift my gown up, and they showed me a tissue of my intestines sitting outside, and with the bag over it. And then when the doctor came in, he just stuck his hand down there, and I was like, what the word? Then I passed gas. I don't mean to be.
No, it's called Portia Raw and Real for a reason.
Yeah, this is raw and real. So I'm like, what's wrong with me? He was like, oh, you have to use the bathroom out of your stomach. And I'm like, are you
You were
kidding me?
15 years old, and all of this just gets dropped on you. Is there anybody from your family in the hospital room when this is all being explained to you? Like, is there anybody there to cushion this?
No.
You just
not because of negligence. It's
right.
just that
it's
they
just
wasn't there.
And you were trying to get up and get out, and they had to demonstrate.
Up, they were there. So when I woke up, I was like, "Where's my mom?" And they was like, "Oh, she been coming down." You know, and I'm like, "Okay." What? And they told me what day it was or whatever, and then that's when they revealed to me, though, this is the only reason why you're living. And I'm like, what? And I was like, so I can't leave? And they was like, nah, you can't leave. You're gonna
And
be here.
you were shot in the back.
Yeah, I got hit in the back. So
And it pierced.
pierced through sideways. And so it just went this way. Instead of like, I could have got hit and it went out here and I'd have been a little bit better. But since it went that way, it just like tore up everything that's inside of here. So, you know, it went that. So after that trauma within itself, I was like, so I can't leave. And the Tupac thing went out the window.
Yeah,
I'm going to be here.
Shot 5 times walking out of not nary a room.
Bring me a sneaker because I'm going to be here for a while. So after that, after I learned about that, and I just bust out crying because I was like, you mean to tell me I have tissue? And I thought it was an alien at that point. I was like, man, this is...
Because you've never seen none of us have seen our insides like that.
You know, and once he told me I was going to be using the bathroom, I didn't understand it. So I cursed out the nurse. I cursed out so bad. You know, her feelings were hurt. She called my mom. She was like, your son has a potty mouth. He has just went crazy. She was like, he don't understand, you know, and I didn't. But, you know, later I felt bad, you know, but then to escape the pain, the lady was like, and I'm like, it's killing me, you know?
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, we about to give you something for the pain. So when she gave me something for the pain, I was talking to my people in the room and, you know, the doctor or whatever, and then next thing you know, I felt this feeling, and it was like being born again. I don't know why it made me feel like I enjoyed that feeling.
When you can feel it coursing through your veins.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I was slobbing and I was like, oh my God, next thing you know, I'm out, boom.
Right.
And so.
And that's a feeling that you got addicted to.
That's the feeling that I got addicted to. So now I'm waking up, and when I'm talking to people, and you know, sometimes I wasn't hurting that bad. And I would tell them, oh, I'm hurting.
I'm still in pain.
Boom, boom, hit the button. And when I hit the button, she'd come in, you know, and it was on course for about 2 weeks.
How long were you in the hospital?
I was in the hospital for, I want to say, 2.5 months.
Oh
because
my
I couldn't
gosh,
walk.
okay.
I couldn't walk. I had to relearn how
So
to
that's
walk.
a long time to get used to learning how to manipulate, if we can be honest.
I had bed sores a little bit because I was
okay.
just laying there. You know, they had to come wipe me up and wipe me down and stuff like that. So I got addicted to it. One day I asked for it again, and I think the nurse knew it. Because she was like, every time he wake up, he go back out. Because when I wake up, I look around, probably eat something, and be like, oh, I'm ready, you know?
Yeah.
And then hit the button, she hit me, I go back out. And then I wasn't even present for people there. Like, they'll come, they'll be like, well, somebody here to see you. I'll be like, I'm ready to go back. You know, I'm ready to get this drug back in me. So next thing you know,
they figured out that
figured it out, put a different drug in there, and I hit the button, and she was like, okay, you got it. And then I was like,
no, I don't.
So, you know what? My mind was so strong. I thought I was high. I was like, it's coming. And then I was like,
where is it?
This ain't working. And I hit the thing. I'm like, yo. And the lady was like, oh, son, you're addicted. And I was like, oh.
You had a lot of real life, very difficult life experiences just in these moments. It's just one trauma after another, which is so characteristic of what happens in our communities.
Yes.
But there were some lights. There were people. There was T.I. You all met when you were very young.
Yeah, right after I healed up.
Tell me, how did you two meet, and what kind of impact has he had in your life? Because I know ultimately he was, years later, would be the one who was like, hey man, you can't even go on stage like this.
Yes. Well, I met Tip when I think I had 56 staples. So by the time I underwent surgery for the colostomy bag, and then I wore that for like 2 years almost, 2 years, and then I went under surgery again, so that just floored me again. So I had to sit and wait after that. And
had you gone back to school in between all of this?
What? I went to school.
That's impressive.
With the bag on, and it opened, and everybody went to smelling it, and I was like, you know what? I can't do this. And
so did you?
I walked out of class. Because everybody was like, that smell. I was so embarrassed and hurt. And I was like, you know, and I told my mom, I was like, I'm never going back there again. And she was like, what? I was like, the bag opened. And I was like, why would it open? You know, because I thought that the adhesive around it,
Yeah.
that would have kept the smell out, but
It's different when you're in a hospital bed laying there, though, and moving around in school. That's, gosh.
And then when somebody yelled that out, and I looked around, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna slide out of here. And then I got home tutored. So by the time I healed up from my second surgery, we had got our Section 8 voucher, and we no longer lived in the projects. We went, like, they had carpet in the apartment, AC, because everywhere we stayed just had heat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Tip had just got, his mom had got her Section 8 voucher also, and they moved us to these apartments. Just so happened, off of Riverdale Road, man, Rens Crossing. And when we moved out there, I saw Tip, and I saw everybody out there, everybody was outside, and, everybody, I walked through the apartments and seen what was going on, and I just seen a lot of traffic out of this one apartment.
That kind of traffic. Gotcha.
Traffic, you know
Got
what I'm
it.
saying? And
did you feel drawn?
I felt drawn to it because it reminded me of the projects in the traffic.
Where you had just come from.
Yeah.
So here your mom is trying to move you into a different space, and I think it's just, I hope it resonates with folks that having the carpet and AC was a big deal.
A very big deal.
Because these are the things that people take for granted, but these are the things that shape a child who is looking for something better.
I felt a part of something. Like, I was like, oh, we're important people that we have AC and carpet. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when we got out there, I seen everybody, and then like it was kind of like being an AT alien inside of ATL.
Yeah.
Because
That's
when I
good.
got over there, it was different. People were used to that living. It was clean, like, because the voucher allowed us to, it was semi okay. So when I seen Tip and I heard his language and how his dialect, and I was like, he don't sound like he from over here. And unbeknownst, like, we were from Bankhead, and I knew I used to see him a lot. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, okay, so I'm every bit of 16, about to be 17. You know what I'm saying? So when I see him, we automatically clicked. You know what I mean? He's hustling, and
Right. And by hustling, we mean street hustling. This is not, we're not music hustling yet. This is trying to help out mom pay for things in this, new apartment. This is helping support the family type of hustling.
And his lingo was very similar to mine, and we kind of had the same outlook on where we were and how good it was. And we could just take advantage of it with the skills that we had from Bankhead as opposed to Clayton County.
Yeah.
So, I was like,
Did that move, I'm sorry to interrupt, but did that move, you said seeing something new and better, did that give you an outlook like, okay, it's just gonna get better from here? Did you start to feel like removed from the pain and the trauma? Like, tell me about the DeJuan Hart, who was then going into the entertainment industry with Tip at that point.
Well, at that point, we weren't famous.
Right.
So I felt like the move was better.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like we were better off as people.
Tell me more.
Because we had just left from where we didn't have a driveway. Everybody garbage can was the garbage can. Heat, you know what I'm saying? Drug, everybody's still using drugs. And at that time, my drug habit had progressed into pills and ecstasy and cocaine and liquor and stuff.
That was just from parties, just being at some place, going someplace, and somebody introduced something new?
Hanging with a guy that sold keys, and he had a habit.
Yeah.
And just sitting around him and, what's that? You know what I'm saying? And he
Here, just try.
Yeah, just, or just take it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? And a lot of money. This dude was a hood millionaire. Different houses, different trap houses, and just so when I was like, oh, he's doing this he has a lot of girls over. He has a car with.
He's
rims
got girls.
on it.
He's got money.
Yes.
He looks happy.
He got Benzes. He got all this stuff. So when I thought that it would be harmful, I was like, it couldn't be because. Look at these cars and look at all these girls.
He looks
and
happy.
These girls looks good, you know what I'm saying? They were fine. They were strippers and stuff. So I'm like, whatever, let's try
Must be
this.
better on that side.
Let's try
But the truth is, he probably was in a whole bunch of pain too,
He
right?
was masking just as well. You know what I mean? So at that age, we were about to be started. So Tip was actually making a beat and hustling at the same time, and I was trying to figure out. I was like, so are you a producer or a rapper or something? He was like, yeah, and I was like, you could have fooled me because it looks like you're a hustler. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so at that point we became best friends.
So fast forwarding a little bit, you become very successful best friends as well. You're making music together. You are making a name. You're putting two of the many artists putting Atlanta on the map.
Yes.
And you're selling out shows.
Yes.
Until you are now coming to the shows high as a kite and messing up the shows, right?
Messing up the shows. It's to the point where it started off simple. It started off like, okay, I'm just gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, and then it started off like, well, I'm gonna just do a little bit more.
Right.
You feel me? Then it was like, okay, you're doing too much. And then when I get to the shows, like I pull up at the shows, like Tip is like, they're like, oh, but bro is wasted.
Right.
I'm talking about beyond.
Did he ever stop you from go? What did he say? And did you fight him? Like, I know you didn't physically fight him, but did you nah, man, I'm good.
I had to fight him on it because he knew firsthand, because we did it together. We got out together. You know what I'm saying? And once he found out what was going on, and he was like, bro, you cannot be. And I'm like, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? And he done asked me to go home for a bunch of times, like, look, take him home. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, bro, you need to get this. You need to get some help. I'm not going to keep staying right here while you. And I'm looking at him like, we do the same thing too sometimes, you know?
Right.
Like
why is it different? Just because we're about to go on stage in front of all these people who paid all this money?
And, you know, you need to go get some help. I was like, I'll go if you go. So one day he was like, perfect. Come out and I want you to see this. You know, I'm going to a class. And he actually moved forward while I was still in my addiction to show me, instead of just saying it, I'll model it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I respect it.
Because you lost $80,000 at one point, right?
For the first show, yes.
For the first show.
Yeah, the first show.
And was that kind of a reality check, or at that point
it was a $38,000 show, $40,000, right? Mm-hmm. And I just thought I could miss it. You know, I was like, oh, I'll make it up. I didn't understand the game at all.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll make it up in the my lawyer was like, no, you're not gonna make that up. He's charging you for what he paid you, you know, and more. And I was like, what? I was like, yeah. And that was my first time.
That's a big wake-up call.
Well, it didn't actually wake me up.
Not at all. So that's a no wake-up call. We just out a whole bunch of money.
I would go on to do the same thing like a couple of more times.
So is there a breaking point? Like at what point, because I understand there was like Tip that comes through, your manager, hey, listen, it's time, man. Is it intervention style, or was it your own sort of a God moment?
It was both. It was an intervention on top of my kid using as well, my daughter. So one day.
When you found out your daughter was using.
Yes. That was on top of being tired, on top of my episode that I had with fentanyl. All of that just came in one bag. Like, it's almost like I believe God just revealed himself to me. Like, you know, he was like, okay, this is where the buck stops. Like, okay, I'm gonna show you this. And just so happened, when I started trying hard drugs, that was the age my daughter.
She's about to start the cycle all over again.
Generational. And
that for you was when?
I was like, that's it. I called my manager, Sierra. I was like, I know we've been trying, you know, and then this guy that we were on the phone with that, you know, I used to take therapy over the phone, but I was juking him. Like, I was like,
You're going through the motions.
I was going through the motions, doing the Hollywood shuffle. Oh, I'm okay, this and that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you know, telling him that what he wanted to hear. But he gave me some key information. He said, you're a musician, I'm a musician. I get it. And music cares actually will help you. And I was like, what is music cares? And he was like, it's these people that rock and rollers, you know, very famous people that put back into, the culture, and they help musicians. So it was.
Were you like, yeah, right, I don't need that, I'm good?
I mean, well.
Or were you like, all right, man,
at the time,
at this
you're
point
right.
now I need it because my daughter.
At the time, you're right. I was like, okay, whatever, you know what I mean? But that was the first thing that came to mind when I said I was ready. When I called Sierra and told her, I was like, you know what? I'm tired, I'm ready. She was like, perfect, because you need help because this is expensive. I flew to California, and I went to Grace Recovery, and it began.
How long was that part of the journey? Because I know it's an ever
2 months
ongoing.
in stay.
Yeah. And you've been clean now for, I don't like to say clean because I feel like it sounds like everyone else who's still struggling is dirty. But you have not had a drink, not had any drugs for how long now?
3 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We call it birthdays. I'm 3 years old.
You're 3 years old? Happy birthday. That's a good-looking 3-year-old right there. I want, just before we close, to talk about how you have turned this experience, this lifelong experience with emotional pain, into a movement of power for our community. And philanthropy, working with young people, working with an organization here in Atlanta called Black Man Lab. Just explain how important it is to take the journey to the next step of helping our people.
Yeah, so when you're in rehab, everything that's poured into you, that was poured into me, the I love yous, the affirmations, the finding good in myself again. You know what I'm saying? I feel like everything that was poured into me, I just became a person of service at that point. Like I wanted to do back what had happened to me. You feel what I'm saying? I wanted to pay it forward. So we came up with It Still Takes a Village. And what I mean by that is,
and that's the name of the organization, right?
Yes,
It Still Takes a Village. That's where people can find you find online too.
I got it from my grandmama. It
Of
takes
course.
a village, you know what I'm saying?
And grandma got it from her grandma,
Yeah.
and her grandma's got it from our African ancestors,
Yes.
right?
And then so once I came up with that, I knew that without a village, without my manager, without Tip, without people that cared, you know what I mean? Without that village, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So I wanted to build a village around the youth. It Still Takes a Village was prevalent back then, and I think it's still important right now with who it should touch and who it should reach. So we came up with this, and then we started touring around the United States, and we're in the schools and the homes and the communities, educating and combating senseless gun violence, because I'm a victim of gun violence, and we're bridging the gap on mental and behavioral health. That's what my partner, Dr. Sierra L. She has 20 years in that. She has a PhD in that, and we team up and we go into these homes. We do interventions. We got a diversion program that we'll, what I'm saying, for people for somebody like me, a rapper.
Yeah.
Kids tend to, I won't listen to anybody, but they'll listen to a Lil Baby or 2 Chainz or Young Dro or T.I. You know what I'm saying? So I use my platform to mentor. I go into the schools, and I just set myself up to where I'm just of service.
Last point. I think it's important for us to know that we're recording this on the day that the city of Atlanta is laying Rich Homie Quan to rest.
Yes.
You were at his homegoing service.
Yes. It was powerful because for me, and the reason why I cried so much is because that almost was my story. I almost laid in a casket to where people would have to come and see. And it's just like I saw myself, I was like, you could have been right where he is, you know what I mean? And people could have been viewing you because of my addiction. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I felt like I have an obligation to reach black, brown, white, whoever is fighting addiction. I can't die with this story, and being close to Rich Homie Quan and making music with him. And to be honest with you, we have a history that nobody even knows. Before he was even Rich Homie Quan, he used to open up shows for me before he was famous. You know what I mean? And
I'm sorry that you've lost such a good friend. Yes. I know for a lot of us, he was We were fans, but you lost a brother.
Yes, yes. And I remember, man, me and him did, I have a single called And one day we was coming home from a show in Arizona, and man, he was like, hey, what you about to do? And I was like, I'm about to go home. He was like, nah, you coming with me. He take me to his house. He got this big old house, and he recorded just like me. I like when I'm recording music, I like to record with my shoes off and my toes twiddling, and you know what I'm saying?
The imagery. Young Dro, toes out, twiddling.
You know what I'm saying? You have to be
and shoulder lean. Okay, got it. I just needed to put it all together.
Yes, so I'm gonna miss him a whole bunch, man. And we lost a real icon, somebody that drew Atlanta in our brains in the best kind of way. You know what I mean? So seeing him off today, I got a lot of respect for his dad, his mom, and his children, and all of his baby mothers. It was a sad but beautiful day to have known him.
And hopefully you'll still get to tell your story on his behalf.
I will. That's exactly what I would do.
And thank you for sharing your story here.
Thank you for
in
having
such
me.
a meaningful way. I am so touched.
Thank you.
And so grateful, and I'm hoping, I have to believe that God's will is for someone to hear your story.
Yes.
And continue to be moved. So continue to do God's work, my dear brother. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching Portia and for listening to Portia Raw and Real. I hope you'll share this particular podcast with people you know, someone who may be struggling, and if you know somebody who's just trying to find a way to start the help process, you can always call the National Mental Health Crisis Line. That number is 988. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next episode of Portia, and here again very soon for Portia Raw and Real.